Good morning, Malaysia, and welcome back to Breakfast Club. You're still with me, Shah, on this fabulous Friday. It's the end of the week. 30th September is the last day of the month, all right? Time passes by so fast. And speaking of time passing by so fast, I mentioned just before the break, I will be talking to a very special guest. He's right next to me, Mr. Scott M. Rowland. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us on the Breakfast Club. And guess what we're talking about? Okay, you guys can see I've got a baseball bat here. And ta-da! My first time ever wearing this, a baseball mitt, okay? I've never worn one. This is my first time. And of course, today we are going to talk about baseball. Okay, now, but before we move on to that, first of all, maybe Scott, you could tell us a bit about what you do by the American Embassy and how come we brought you here. You know, you were recommended to talk about baseball.
Sure. Well, we've enjoyed the opportunity we've had to talk about sports and the importance that sports has in the United States. We've been on before, different people from the embassy talking about the Super Bowl and the basketball playoffs. But baseball, as you say, is a little bit less well known here in Malaysia. So now that we're into the playoff season in the United States, we wanted to talk a bit about that.
Okay.
But I work at the United States Embassy as the counselor for public diplomacy. I've had tours previous to this in places like Kabul, Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Ecuador, in Germany, and Russia. So I've been all over the globe with the State Department.
Jet setter he is, huh? Very lucky dude. But anyway, today we are talking about baseball. And as you know, people say baseball is this very basic American pastime. Every kid, I think, even when they're 5 or 6, they already know about baseball. They've got baseball cards, you name it, all right? It is a way of life, I could say, back there in the States. And, you know, is it still true? Because you guys have tons of other things. I don't know, the American culture in Malaysia, we know about American Idol and the list goes on, you know. So is baseball still very much part of the American way of life?
It really is. Now, of course, it's called the American pastime, as you noted. Now, depending upon how you define that would determine your answer as to whether it's still baseball. American football has caught on and is extremely popular. The most popular television program in the U.S. every year is the Super Bowl, which is the championship for football. Okay. Over 100 million Americans watch that when it comes on in end of January or February. Baseball doesn't have those kinds of numbers in television anymore. But football is largely, in terms of the people who play it, a sport mostly for men. It's a very, very physical sport. And when you see the guys who play it at the professional level, they're very big. There aren't a lot of women who play football. A lot of women enjoy watching it. Baseball is a sport that is played by both men and women, and so probably has a little bit broader appeal. And as you look across the American society, you'd be more likely to find people who have played baseball or softball, its cousin, which is something that women will play.
I see. All right. And from what I know, right now, okay, as you can see there on the screen, the playoffs in American baseball apparently will start later today. All right. And maybe you could tell us about the teams who will be playing for this first round, you know, for people to just find out a bit more about. Yeah.
Well, rolling right now in the background, we're watching the Philadelphia-Atlanta game, and there were several games that decided yesterday in the last minutes of the game who would be in the playoffs and who wouldn't. Philadelphia has the best record in the major leagues, in the National League, and they will clearly be one of the teams that will be favored to win. They defeated Atlanta here. Atlanta had a chance to make the playoffs, but lost this game and is not in the playoffs now. Instead, Philadelphia will be playing St. Louis, and we may be seeing a clip of that then a little bit later. That's one of the matchups in the National League side. The other matchup on the National League side is that the Milwaukee Brewers, who have not won their division since 1982, will be playing at home against the Arizona Diamondbacks.
All right. Now, there are two leagues. Maybe you could enlighten me. I'm obviously confused. One's called the American League and one's called the National League. Now, what's the difference between the two leagues then?
Well, those are just names they came up with. The sport's very old. It's one of the older sports in the United States, older than basketball, for example. So the National League is the older of the two leagues. But again, we're going back to the 1800s. So they're both actually very old, well-established leagues. Okay. Yeah. And there are 15 teams in each league. Actually, it's 16 and 14. They've broken it up kind of funny. 30 teams total. So anyway, we talked about the National League. That's where we have the Philadelphia Phillies, the Milwaukee Brewers, the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the St. Louis Cardinals that are in the hunt to make it to the World Series, to the championships.
I like the names of the teams. They're very creative.
Well, and I haven't gotten to the ones that you'll probably recognize. And on the American League, we have the New York Yankees. Everybody knows about the New York Yankees, right? So
they're hats and
exactly, and the pinstripes. So anyway, they'll be in the hunt on the American League side. They won their division, the Eastern Division, which is arguably the best division in baseball. Also from that division, the Tampa Bay Rays. Another team that yesterday it wasn't clear if they would be in the playoffs or not. They beat the Yankees in the final game of the season to make it into the playoffs. but they will face off against the Texas Rangers, who have the best offense in baseball, the best hitting team.
All right.
And the final team is the Detroit Tigers. So those are the matchups we'll have in the American League.
More familiar names. I think a lot of people around the world, like you said, everybody has heard of the Yankees for sure. Okay, the souvenirs. Some people go to the States just to buy them and bring them back. Okay, the best memorability you can have. But anyway, now that you mentioned all these teams, now who do you think are are going to make the next step, advancing in the next round actually?
Well, I would look on the National League side. The favorites are going to be the Philadelphia Phillies. They have the best pitching, and normally, all things being equal, good pitching is probably going to win out over good hitting.
Okay.
So they probably will be the favorites in the National League side. I will definitely look to them to probably win their series against St. Louis, although I'll look to that to go the full 5 games. St. Louis is a very experienced team with one of the best managers in baseball.
Okay, and the ones playing in the World Series, which who will they be?
Well, I think the smart money on the National League side will be Philadelphia. I'm a Milwaukee fan. I have a Milwaukee Brewer hat here.
We can see that.
For emotional reasons, I'm probably going to say I'm going to look to Milwaukee to pull an upset on the National League side. On the American League side, I'm going to bet against the Yankees. I'm going to look at probably the Texas Rangers with the best offense in baseball to break through and maybe take their first World Series in the championship.
All right, very, very informative stuff about baseball here this morning. Now, for us Malaysians who aren't very much aware about baseball, how could we, find out more if you want to play, participate? Is there, I don't know, a league here perhaps that you know of or something?
It's interesting. You do have leagues, and we have some young Americans who are here. They're called English teaching assistants, and they work in the state of Terengganu right now. They'll be expanding to a couple new states next year. But several of these young Americans are college graduates, and they help in English classrooms in Terengganu. They were coaching teams in Terengganu, so there are softball teams in Terengganu playing in a league, which I would look forward to seeing myself at some point.
Exactly, that is super cool actually. I wouldn't have thought that, of all places, now that we know we've got Americans here teaching, and they're in Terengganu, so if you want to watch them play, you got to go all the way to Terengganu then.
Well, that's one place. Now, there may be other places closer by, and I guess you and I need to find out where that is. I haven't seen a game here yet, but I would really look forward to it.
Yes,
so.
All right. Now, how can Malaysians follow the baseball playoffs if they want to find out more? Is there a website, or I don't know if...
Sure. Astro has carried the regular season games, and I'm not familiar with what the plans are for the playoffs. There certainly will be highlights on ESPN. There's a great website, baseball. It's MLB.com.
Okay.
And you can follow the games. If you want to pay, you can actually watch them on the internet on MLB.com. But you can follow the games. They have real live, in-time reports of every pitch that's being made. You can see where the ball comes in and how fast it's being thrown and if it's high or low. So it's a very good website to follow baseball.
All right, so that's it, MLB.com. If you want to find out more about baseball, you can go to the website. Now, we have also been informed that you yourself, you've got some personal experience coaching baseball.
I do.
So maybe you could tell us a bit about your experience coaching baseball.
Now, of course, when you say coaching, it sounds like I was coaching a professional team.
Yeah.
These were little league teams, which is a great way for young Americans and young children around the world to learn how to play baseball. And in fact, in my case, since I work for the Department of State, I was coaching teams in places like Islamabad, Pakistan, in Berlin, Germany, and in Quito, Ecuador. So it was a great way to bring the entire international community together. We had children from really the host countries, Americans, and a lot of other countries that thought, wow, this would be great if my son or daughter could learn a little bit about playing baseball on a team, and really a lot of fun for everybody.
And right now in Malaysia, are you still doing that? I mean, you said you've done it in a few other countries. Are you still coaching?
There's not a league here in Kuala Lumpur that I know of, and my children are also grown, so they're back in the United States.
They're not so little anymore, so there's no more little league, right?
Yeah, so I haven't done that for a few years now.
So that means, okay, because you mentioned the teaching assistants in Terengganu, they are probably going to introduce baseball to the kids they're teaching over there.
Exactly.
All right, but do you plan on maybe starting a new little league? I don't know.
It would be a thought, yeah.
It would be a thought.
And I think some of the schools here, ISKL has softball teams for the boys, and I believe for the girls, and that would be another way that maybe you get it started there and try to expand it to some of the other schools.
Yeah, because a lot of people tend to confuse softball and real baseball. How does it differ, actually?
Well, just the equipment. This is actually a softball bat, not a baseball bat. So the bats are a little bit different. The balls for softball are bigger and a little softer.
Hence the name.
Exactly.
All right.
The baseball balls are very small, and you throw. I mean, people tend to throw a lot harder. They throw overhand when they pitch, not underhand, which makes it a little bit more difficult to hit.
All right. Okay, because we know the basic stuff. Like I said, when we watch American movies, American TV shows, we know there's strike three, you're out. You know, those little terms which Americans have taught us through TV and radio, popular culture, and that's the only thing we know about baseball. So it's very nice to know that, you know, you've given us a big insight. Now we know, and if we want to follow the game, like I said, it starts today in the States. You can start following them. And like he mentioned, the website, MLB.com. If you want to find out more about baseball, okay, you can go to this website and, you know, maybe, who knows, you guys can start your own little league. I don't know, because he mentioned right now we don't have one. So if you'd like to start one, maybe we can find out, you know, go ask from the people at the American Embassy, because I'm sure they could fill you in on everything about baseball, all right? But anyway, Scott, I think that's about all the time we have this morning, actually, because after this I've got the news coming up.
Great.
But I'd like to thank you very much for coming.
Pleasure being here.
Okay, again, I'm still very excited. The whole thing, after everything we talked about, I'm still very excited because I've never held one of these before. This is my first time ever holding a baseball mitt here live on air on the show, all right? But for the Breakfast Club, Shah Shamshiri and Scott, we're going to take a break because after this, the news is coming up next. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you right after that.